tattoo artists of Reddit, what's your worst? Are you sure you want that stories? Guy wanted a barcode. Artist told him it wouldn't actually work and that it'd be decorative only. Guy says okay. After it's done, guy pulls out his cell phone and tries to scan it. It doesn't work. Guy is angry. A buddy of mine who ran his own studio once asked me to do an illustration for a strange request that a customer had. I had done a number of custom pieces and some of them were pretty damn weird. This one, though, the guy essentially wanted a portrait of a 60s William Shatner deep in thought. He also wanted a dream bubble coming out of Shatner's head, and inside that dream bubble he wanted the exact same portrait of William Shatner with a mustache. Essentially William Shatner dreaming about William Shatner with a mustache. The dude wanted this engraved on his flesh. I was in awe of how beautifully stupid it was. Being that portraiture wasn't my strong point, I gave it to someone else. Last I had heard, the guy actually went through with it. My standard answer for this: my buddy has Darth Vader riding a Segway with his gut bulging out of his armor, eating a hoagie and the words, "Keep on truckin'." Edit. For those asking, I have no picture, and don't talk to this person anymore. Sorry. My artist has a good story. Some 18 or 19-year-old girl came in with her mother looking for a cover-up job. She's talking about her tattoo, and goes, "Maybe it's easier if I just show you." Her mom goes, "No honey way," as the chick just drops trow and presents a tattoo that spans her entire ass saying, "Ukach get money" into lines, so 2 words in each cheek. I met a guy once that had a date of birth tattoo to the back of his neck, in plain view. He told me it was his brother's date of birth. At that point I expected the story to spin into a very heartfelt sob about a deceased family member. No, this chap couldn't decide what ink to get. He took so long that the artist suggested his date of birth, and he agreed. However, he remembered just as he was asked what his date of birth was, that he was not the legal age to get a tattoo at the time. So in a panic he gave his brother's date of birth. Well, I nearly hit the floor laughing when he told me. Edit. Gilded. Absolutely made my week. Thanks for that, great goldsmith. Glad this story offered joy to more than just me. Guy wanted luck just above his eye in quite large letters. I suppose he wanted girls to know what they are while ucking him off. Good luck to him. Not necessarily the worst, but every artist has a collection. Not a tattoo artist, but worked as a shop manager at one. A guy came in, and he was on parole for beating his, now ex-girlfriend. We found this out while he was getting his tattoo of a woman being tied up bondage style with a black eye. I really hope the parole officer saw it. The guy who did one of mine told me a story. He had this guy who asked for a gigantic on his back. He kept trying to talk the guy out of it, but he was insistent. This was earlier in the artist's career, so he figured he should probably just go through with it, but the whole time he was doing it, he was basically like, "What am I even doing right now?" And I'm pretty sure every artist has at least a few stories about people who think they're tough, then just completely lose it once they see how it feels. Kind of a reverse of this. I was 18 and wanted stitches on my neck, all around, as if my head was cut off and sewn back on. The guy said, at 18 you need a parent's signature, which was true in Chicago at the time. My mom said, okay, and came with, "I love her, but she's not the best decision maker." The guy sees me roll back in with my mom. He gives the price. It's insane. I have over 30 tattoos. I now have a vague understanding of the pricing. Vague. I'm not trying to be that guy who thinks he knows my tattoo artist, but this price was insane. Not just because of placement, difficulty, and shop rate. The dude saved me. He knew I didn't have that money, and he saved my ass by just giving me a crazy ass price. I could have gone somewhere else but just assumed, at the time, it'd just be that much. Too long. Didn't read. I was the customer with a crazy request and the artist duped me and saved my skin. Not a tattoo artist, but I was sitting in a shop waiting for an appointment when a guy wandered in and asked if he could go first, since the tattoo he wanted was small and wouldn't take long. He was a nerdy Asian guy wearing glasses, Dockers, and a polo shirt. He just wanted the words "AQ" written on his middle finger so people would see it when he flipped them off. No other tattoos visible that I could see. That tattoo artist argued with him saying the small size would cause the lettering to look weird and possibly smudge, but he didn't care. He wanted to show the world he was iced off or something. Ended up getting the tattoo, and I looked at it right after it was done. Artist did a good job given the small area he was working in. Right before he left, he asked what it would run to have another hand on his inside forearm also flipping the bird. Tattoo artist told him to uck off and he left. Been a tattoo artist for the last 9 years, and the one that will always stand out is tattooing words on a guy's. He said it was so he could put words in your mouth. I knew a dude in military training who got the Mario block tattooed above his junk. His thought process was exactly what you think. Nice guy, but when he added Mario and Yoshi jumping towards it on his hip, we all started calling it his chastity belt. And every time we introduced our class to the next instructor, I'd have the sergeant ask him about his tattoo. Got a lot of, what the uck, airman. Also knew a dude in basic with a pair of lips on his hip. Apparently that's where his girlfriend would start foreplay. You get way too comfortable with your flight/platoon/whatever the Navy calls it, after the first few weeks with no external social interaction. Not a tattoo artist, but my old shop in Seattle. I had one of the artists show me some of his own personal weird ones on himself. Colonial soldier riding a horse, but the neck and head were a throbbing Japanese woodblock style of a vagina in a kimono holding a baby swaddled in cloth. Bad skull on his thigh that turned into a massive vagina at the forehead. When I asked why in the hell, he responded, why not? No one else would. Rad dude. The other shop I went to for a lot of my work, the owner gave some stripper an Illuminati all-seeing brown eye on her hole. Not a tattoo artist, but I've got a story, and it's a doozy. I had an ex-boyfriend get my name tattooed on his bicep after we broke up, and he was married at the time. He thought it would make me uck him, but I just lolled and his wife kicked him out. Not the brightest crayon in the box to get your cheating attempt permanently displayed on your body. Anyway, a couple months later his brother tells me he got it covered up and was back with his wife. Cool. A couple months after that he rings me up that he's separated and we should get together. Thanks, no thanks. A few days later he texts me a picture. Yup, he got my name tattooed on him again. Nope. This is when I got smart and changed my number. I hear again through friends he got that covered up as well. Maybe a year or so down the road I'm dating a guy who, unbeknownst to me, was friends with this ex. Ex gets my new number. Multiple day/multiple texts saga of woe is me ensues, culminating in a picture of, once again, my name is tattooed on him. Tell him to uck off, change my number, dump my BF, who did not even see anything wrong with this whole thing. The uck? Another year later. Valentine's Day. Somehow this loser got my number again. Small town blues y'all. Proceeds to send another multi-page text of how he loves and misses me. He's sorry he cheated. He's a changed man. He didn't know what he was giving up. Blah blah blah. Ends with a pic with a ruler and telling me he got my name tattooed again. Sends pic. Don't respond. Change my number and move on. Maybe 2 years go by. This was a high school boyfriend. I haven't seen him face to face in years. FB messages me, friends of friends type deal. It's a new picture. My goddamn name is now tattooed over this ucker's heart. Son of a bitch. I blocked him. He makes a new profile. Block him again. Seems to be over. Finally, learned from mutual friends he finally got that covered up as well. He stopped bothering me after I got married and moved to a new state. If I never hear from him again it will be too soon. Too long. Didn't read. Had an ex stalk me for years, during which he got my name tattooed on him and covered up again a total of 5 times. I have a related story. I'm a police officer in the UK. One of my colleagues was booking a young office worker into custody for some low-level drunken shenanigans. Nothing too serious. Custody sergeant asks, "Do you have any tattoos?" And the lad sheepishly admits that yes, he has a small star on his ass and the word pornster. Everyone goes quiet to listen in, and the sergeant lifts his eyebrow for an explanation. "Yeah, I was in Ibiza with my mates and we all got it done," explains the blushing reprobate. "It was funny at the time." "To be honest mate," replies the officer presenting him, "it's funny right now." I'd been inking for about 5 years when this guy swaggered into the shop. I say swaggered, because I could tell he'd had a bit to drink that night. Enough to make him feel cocky, but not enough to be completely out of it, which automatically would have gotten him kicked out of my chair. I'm not going to deal with people so drunk, they aren't in control, and no one needs 10 AM buyer's remorse. Not for something like a tattoo. So he comes in, and I can tell he's new. So I direct him to my book of options, but he doesn't even look at it. Just sits in my chair, and says, I want you to draw a troll. He should be fishing using one of those plums to balance the line. So you want a net? What? A net? A trolling net for fishing? Ha. Is that where it comes from? Uck no, man. I want a troll. Big green under the bridge troll. And make sure he's got a plum. That's really important. I want it on my arm. I roll my eyes, but start sketching a few things out. I'm halfway through outlining something, and I say, so what type of fish is this troll catching? Fish? Uck no, man. He's catching an alpaca. An alpaca? Uck yeah. In the water. Now you've got it. With his fishing pole. Don't forget the plum. How could I? So I sketch it out, and the guy's like going bonkers over it. He loves it. And I start it up, and go for an hour, and get a third of the way through before we stop. What are you doing? He asks, stopping, man. Large tattoos have to go in pieces. It'll be better for you. The guy slaps down $2,000 in cash, and says keep going. I stare at it. I stare at him. I keep going. And don't forget the plum. He says. So 3 hours later, and this guy hasn't so much as whimpered on the chair, but I'm finally done. The weirdest tattoo I'd ever done, but my god was it a masterpiece. The troll was an ugly pale green. The alpaca a fluffy off-white, fur glistening in the water, and the plum, well, who could forget a thing like that? And he thanks me, and walks out the door, and I stop him on the street, because I can't let it go. I can't. Hey, dude, what's up with the tattoo? And he looks at me with these instantly sober eyes, and says, so I never forget. Forget what? I ask. That alpaca plum troll is an anagram of Paul Blart Mall Cop. Courtesy of you/Enderboy. My first boyfriend insisted on getting my name tattooed on his arm. He got mad when I told him that's a bad idea. He thought he was going to marry me. He was 17. We broke up the next month. A tattoo artist friend had great stories. My favorite was the fellow who came in wanting those two hands clapping with a necklace. It was a rosary prayer. He wanted a rosary prayer tattoo. Not me, but story from artist who did my first tattoo. He said a guy would come in for these crazy tattoos that he could never talk him out of, but always did the best he could. The worst was the guy had a literal piece of brown poop tattooed on his forearm. The best was some cartoon animal being pulled in a Roman chariot by 2 pieces of crispy bacon. My artist said that was his favorite tattoo he'd ever been asked to do. Not a tattoo artist, but I worked as a cleaner in a center where addicts could live cheap. One guy was complaining no one would never hire him anymore. He had 2 guns tattooed above his eyebrows. Not a tattoo artist, but my cousin's ex-husband had their daughter's name tattooed across his shoulder blades in giant letters. He got the spelling wrong. Maybe they should have asked him if he was sure he got the spelling correct. Tattoo apprentice for about a year and a half here. I haven't had as much crazy hit happen since I haven't been in the industry as long, but a few come to mind. When I tattooed the name Declan with a little heart on a dude's cheek. Tattooed King Fantastic again on a girl's. IDK what it is with kids and tattoos these days. And then of course a whole bunch of stupid cliche hit. Tiny minimalistic anchors? Sure. Watercolor? Of course. I do a decent job, and they turn out cute, but I feel like the general public don't realize what makes a tattoo bold and stand the test of time.